this is the sixth post of a series, and from this post we are getting into some very important topics. So we are getting into the actual productionizing of our self-learning recommendation systems. So before we get into the details of the productionizing, let's just do a recap of what we achieved so far. So in the initial post we gave a glimpse of recommendation systems and reinforcement learnings, and then we implemented the bandit problems, and then we made a connection between self-learning recommendation systems and the bandit problems, and then in the subsequent two posts we built the prototype in Jupyter notebooks. Now we will take that prototype which we built in Jupyter notebooks and then build them into Python scripts. And Python scripts are, why Python scripts? It's because Python scripts are the way in which you start in terms of productionizing this whole code, and then maybe it's a path towards building it into an application and then getting it deployed. So that's why building these whatever we build as a prototype into Python scripts is important. So let's first start off with the file structure of the project. So as you can see in the screen, and this is my PyCharm IDE. You can use any IDE which you want, but this is the structure of the project which we have. So you have a main folder called RL_recommendations. So that's a name which I have adopted. You can select whatever name you want, and under that what is being done is a new virtual environment has been created. Now why a new virtual environment is because it's always a good practice to have all your application built in a completely different virtual environment. The reason is so in that virtual environment, so when we get into deployment, we have only those files which are relevant for this application, that virtual environment, and deployment gets easy. So that's why it is always a good practice to get into to build a virtual environment before we get into productionizing it. So the virtual environment here is the folder called, or the directory called, the RLReco in small letters. We will get into how we created the virtual environment. The steps would come later, but I just wanted to give you a structure of our file systems. And some of the major file or major directories are your data, your config, then your output, processes, utils. And you'll also see a file called RLReco main.py, and that's your main driver file. That's something which drives the complete application. So this is the overall structure of it. We'll get into details of each of them as we go along. So now let's get into creating this folder structure which we have earlier seen. So the first step is to make a directory called the RL recommendations. This is a directory structure which I have made. You can name your application main directory in whatever name you want, but so here if this is my PyCharm ID, and you have a console here, you have a terminal also here, as you can see. So you can use any ID which you want, or you can work on the command prompt itself. So that's up to you. So here, so to make a directory, and since I'm using a Linux system, make a directory. So the prompt is to mkdir RL recommendation. I'm not implementing that because I've already made the folder here. Okay, so even in a Windows system also, you can go to command prompt and make directory mkdir, and then make your directory. Once this main directory is done, then the next thing is to create this virtual environment. Now I've already created the virtual environment here. So the command for making the virtual environment in the Python 3 environment is this one, Python 3 -m virtual environment RLReco. Now RLReco is the name of the virtual environment which you want to create. So you can create whatever name you want. So this is the command for this. I'm not implementing this because I've already made this. So once it virtual environment is created, then you have to activate it, and to activate the virtual environment, the command is source and then rlreco bin activate. So let's implement that. So you can see that once this is implemented, you, the command prompt, there is this indication of this virtual environment here, RLReco appears here. Now base is because I'm in a Conda environment, so just because I'm in a Anaconda environment, that's why you have the base. You can even deactivate this also. So that's up to you. Now to deactivate this, this one, it is your command is deactivate. Just type deactivate and then it's gone. So let's activate it again. So it's activated now. Once you have activated this, you can see that the RLReco directory is there, and you have certain folders like your bin and include, lib, etc., which is formed once you activate this RLReco. You can just ignore those folders because these are system related folders. But what we will do is, all our folder structure we create inside this directory RLReco, and then all those folders which we want, like your config folder, data, output processes, utils. These are our folders which are required for our application. So we'll create that inside this RLReco directory, and then another main important file which we'll create is rlreco main.py, which is the driver file for this. So this is our folder structure and how we create this virtual environment and activate the virtual environment. Next we will go into rlreco main and then see the processes one by one. Now these processes are something which we have already implemented. Let's see them one by one and how do we structure that in Python scripts.